Okay, so it's day 3 of week 3, and we're looking at how we can leverage macros for body recomposition. Losing fat, gaining muscle. Let's go. Okay, so we're going to have a look at something we talked about yesterday, which is your total daily energy expenditure, how you calculate that. Then we're going to look at setting some goals. We're going to look at adjusting the macros to meet those goals. I'll give you a case study so you understand how to apply it. Then we'll talk about tracking your progress and some common mistakes. Okay, so calculating total daily energy expenditure is a bit of a faff. The easiest way is to go to my website, futureupt.com, and find handy fitness calculators, and then go to the BMR and activity levels calculator, enter your details, and it will give you a calculation for not only your BMR but also your TDEE. However, you can also use the Harris-Benedict equation, which is shown on screen. You can type in all those variables. Once you've got your basal metabolic rate, you can then multiply it by the activity multiplier, which is in the table, so you work out. Now, with the activity multiplier, I would always err on the side of caution. Go down rather than higher. If you think you're exercising somewhere between 3 to 5 days, but it could be 6 days, and you think you work fairly hard, go to moderately active. Underestimate, because you'll find you'll get results better than if you overestimate and then start having to cut further. So, you now need to set your goals. Do not go into this without having thought about actually what your goals are. If you're trying to lose fat, you have a set of goals that is different from if you're trying to gain muscle, or are you trying to stay the same? Each goal is slightly different in how we approach this. So fat loss is not weight loss. We do not just want to lose water or muscle. We want to specifically lose fat. And we need to do this in a very controlled way. So you want to create a calorie deficit of around 500 calories a day. That will give you a loss of about 0.5 kilogram per week. Hopefully, mostly body fat. There will be a little bit of protein and there definitely will be some water. But if we're keeping it to a small loss each week, you will mitigate how much of those two things you're losing. No more than 750 calories deficit a day. Do not go higher than that. It is not worth it. And make sure that you're keeping your protein high. 2 to 2.4 times the amount of body weight in kilograms in grams of protein. If you want to put on muscle, then your aim is to put on lean muscle mass. Now this is very important. You cannot rush this process. There is only so much muscle you will be able to build in a month, and therefore in a week and in a day. Do not go for massive calorie surplus because you will just put on fat. Aim for around 250 to 500 calories per day, and you'll need to make sure that you're weight training at a significant level so that you actually get progressive overload, and you're making your muscles stressed enough so that there is a response and they do need to repair and grow. Otherwise you will not see growth no matter how many calories you're taking in. And if you're keeping it as a maintenance level, you just want to keep your body as it is, I would recommend not doing anything apart from if you start noticing your weight going up or down. Okay, so we've worked out our total daily energy expenditure. We've worked out whether we're gaining muscle or trying to lose fat. We now need to take away that calorie number or add it on to our total daily energy expenditure. Once we have that figure, we then start with protein. So I would roughly go, as I've said before, double your body weight in kilograms in grams of protein per day. So work that out, times that number by 4 to work out how many calories that is, and minus that from the total amount of calories you're going to eat in a day. Then go on to your fat. Now keep your fat at around 20 to 25% of your overall calorie needs. If you're losing weight, 20%. If you're trying to put on muscle, 25%. Once you've worked out those two and you've taken them off your daily total, then go on to carbs. Then work out what's left, and you can work out how many grams of carbs you can eat. So we'll use me as a case study. So I'm 44, I'm male, 74 kilograms at the moment, 176 centimeters tall, and I'm classing myself as moderately active. So my BMR is roughly 1,674, but my TDEE is around 2,600, just under. Okay, so if I wanted to go for fat loss of around half a kilogram a week, I would take my TDEE, I'd minus 500, that would give me 2,096 calories. Okay, that is my total. I then go to protein, I work out what double my body weight is, and I then times that by 4, that gives me 592 calories. That's my protein calorie goal. I then minus that. I then work out my fats, so I'm keeping it at 20%. That's 419 calories. I add those two together, minus them from my total amount. That leaves me with 1,084 calories. So that is what I can eat on carbs. I then divide that by 4. That gives me 271 grams of carbs. Yummy. That's a decent amount of carbs. That gives me a split of 28% protein, 20% fat, and 52% carbs, which is roughly right. Now, if I wanted to grow muscle, I would need to do it slightly differently. I'm going to add 250 calories onto my total daily energy expenditure. That means that I do the same process. Now, I am going to increase the amount of protein that I have here. So I am going to times it by 2.4. That gives me 163 grams, roughly, of protein, which is 651 calories. Okay, so I minus that. Then I look to 25% fat out of the total energy expenditure. That gives me 711 calories. Add those two together. Minus that from my total daily energy expenditure, I get 1,483 calories left. Again, that is what I can spend on carbs. Divide that by 4, 371 grams of carbs. That is more than enough to eat a pizza. So that gives me 23% protein, 25% fat, and 52% carbs. Great. There you go. A case study of how to apply that macro balancing. So tracking progress is essential. If you don't know where you started, you won't know if you've met your goal. 2 things to track: calories and metrics. Use MyFitnessPal or Chronometer to track your calories. Take all the hard work out of it. Just scan it if you can. That saves a lot, but be accurate. Make sure, if you're erring on the side of caution, if you think you've had 90 grams of pasta, try and find the one that costs the most calories rather than the one that costs the least calories. On the side of caution, because the food might not always match up correctly. The other thing you need to track are your body metrics. Now, weigh your body weight at least once a week. If you can do it more often, great. If not, once a week, but keep the variables the same. Try and do it at the same time of day. Try and do it with the same conditions. So I wake up, I have some water, use the loo, and then I weigh myself. So I know I've managed certain variables. That means that every time I look back at my progress, I know I'm comparing like for like. Track, if you can, your body fat percentages. This isn't going to be 100% accurate, but having some idea is better than not. Likewise with lean muscle mass, if you've got scales that can track that, great. You will understand at least if you're going up and down, even if the measurement isn't 100% accurate. And also track body measurements. Measure around your navel, just above your hips. Measure your arms, your legs. Track those measurements, because you'll often see things changing where the scale might not move. You might get adaptations happening in your body that aren't measurable by a scale. If you are not getting any progress after a week or two, adjust your calories. and your macros. However, do it by about 5%. Don't go crazy and start cutting out loads of things. You're just doing a gentle adjustments to see what the bare minimum is to get you the best results. Okay? You don't want to rush this process. You want to make it sustainable. And if you are getting negative side effects like fatigue or irritability, then you need to adjust it back. Look at what you've changed and then adjust it. There's no point being a little hell monster just because you're trying to lose weight. Okay? Try and be nice to the people around you. Okay, so some common mistakes. Certainly over-restricting calories, going in too hard. If it's such a stupid amount of calories, like 1,500 calories for an adult male, you're way off. You don't need to be cutting at that rate. You're not rushing. You need to do it sustainably. Don't ignore macros. Do not just think, okay, well, I'm meeting my calorie goal, because if you're not getting enough protein, you won't put on muscle. If you're not getting enough carbs, you won't fuel yourself properly. If you don't get enough fat, you'll become unhealthy and you won't absorb nutrients properly. So you need to do all of the things properly to have the balance right. Okay, don't give up as well. It's very easy to get disillusioned. I always think there's like a 2-week delay. If you start doing something to your body, it takes 2 weeks before it starts showing up. That's weightlifting, trying to lose weight, whatever. My body takes time to start reacting. It's like a slow ship turning. So give yourself time. Just because it hasn't worked in week 1 and week 2 doesn't mean that it won't work in week 3. If you're 4 weeks in and nothing's changed, start changing micro adjustments. But do not give up. The other thing is, if you're not applying progressive overload, if you're overestimating your activity level or underestimating calories, then that will have an effect on your result. So be conservative in all your approaches. Push yourself as hard as you can. Make sure you're progressively overloading over time with your workouts, that you're actually putting enough stress on your muscles to want to repair and to grow. Underestimate your activity levels and overestimate your calories. That way you are making sure you've got the best of both worlds. It's a hard thing changing your body, and consistency is difficult, and hard work that goes into this is really, really difficult at times. But it all starts with a plan. If you have your goals in mind and you have a plan, then you have a chance. But make sure that the plan is not the plan that you made 6 months ago, because your body is different. Change the plan as your goals are achieved. As your body weight changes, as your body composition changes, the goals need to change and the plan needs to change in order to meet them. Okay? If you need help, book in a call and I will help you talk through this. See you tomorrow.